Hold up. There's a restaurant built on a cemetery in this city. That's crazy. Okay, before you move to South Lyon, Michigan, watch this video. We're covering everything from schools to real estate to cemeteries, apparently, history, and more. So this city is one of the ones I've worked in the most in my 24-year career as a real estate agent, helping hundreds of home buyers in this city find their next home or sell their current home, and I've learned quite a bit about the town. Beyond that, I grew up right down the road. So before we dive in, if you're new here, you can go straight to the chapter of the video that you want to know the most about. They're all labeled below, and I went in order of what clients ask me most about from like most to least. Also, subscribe to the channel. We drop videos about Metro Detroit, and everything there is to do here weekly. And if you're looking for a home in Metro Detroit, reach out. We help over 800 families each and every year and have more 5-star reviews than any other real estate agent, team, or brokerage in the entire state of Michigan. We've got your back. Starting out, first thing people ask about are commute times to get to where they work. South Lyon is located here in Metro Detroit and has a pretty sleepy downtown. Most of my clients that hire me to help them find a home in South Lyon are commuting to a few different places. First, downtown Detroit. The commute's about 45 minutes without traffic, a little bit longer with. Most people there are either working in the Rensen and GM, which is actually going to be moving over to the Hudson building, which is very cool, very exciting, or they're working downtown in one of the Ford tech centers. Next up to the Proving Grounds in Milford, it's just a quick 20 to 25 minutes, traffic dependent. Now to Southfield, where there are a lot of business and finance centers, it's about 30 minutes going by 696, then 96. And getting to the airport, if you're someone that travels a lot for work, is about 1 hour on the dot. Definitely longer than some cities like Plymouth, and I have several videos covering that city here. If a shorter airport commute is super important to you, I would scope out Plymouth and maybe put that on the list as well. Last, a lot of my clients work in Ann Arbor and with U of M and want to be outside the city, but still within striking distance. The commute to Ann Arbor is a pretty quick 26 minutes without traffic, 30 to 35 with. All right, so let's talk about safety and crime next. A lot of people asking about this. This one's always on the list of things that people want to know moving in from out of the area especially. While I'm not going to give my own personal opinion on safety, everyone's is different. I am going to pull from the FBI stats, the Sheriff Department stats, and several other sources like crimerate.org, niche.com, and Area Vibes. All right, let's start here. Per the FBI, South Lyon is safer than over 85% of all cities in the United States. That's a pretty good start. So South Lyon's violent crime rate is very low. For instance, the chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in South Lyon is about 1 in 1,183, significantly lower than the state of Michigan average of 1 in 217 and lower than the national median. This includes very low rates of assault, robbery, and other serious violent crimes. Property crimes in South Lyon also occur much less frequently than in other parts of the country. Residents have about a 1 in 215 chance of becoming a victim of a property crime, which includes theft, burglary, and vandalism. The rate's also much lower than the national averages. Schools. So how are the schools? One of the top questions I get asked, and let's talk about it. So South Lyon is a fully built out school district with an early childhood center, 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools covering 3 townships spanning across 3 counties. It's actually a very large district. Niche.com has South Lyon schools rated A- overall. GreatSchools.org gives South Lyon High School an 8 out of 10, South Lyon East High School a 9 out of 10, and further, students graduating from the South Lyon School District have a college readiness level in the 87th percentile, and the average SAT score from a South Lyon graduate is 1,036, which is much better than the state average of 958. SchoolDigger.com ranks South Lyon School District 78 out of the 610 school districts in all of Michigan and gave them 4 out of 5 stars. Now, as far as the 2 high schools go, South Lyon East is ranked 99th out of 1,870 high schools in Michigan, and South Lyon ranked 103 out of 1,870 high schools in Michigan. PublicSchoolReview.com gives both high schools a 9 out of 10, and most of the elementaries and middle schools get a 9 out of 10, with Sharon Hardy Elementary getting a 10 out of 10, and in the top percent of all elementaries in the state of Michigan. US News ranks South Lyon East 80 out of 1,870, and South Lyon High at 83 out of 1,870, so slightly better than the other ranking in Michigan. Nationally, the South Lyon School District is ranked 2,418 out of just over 24,000 school districts districts and is number 27 out of all 662 Metro Detroit high schools in the 5-county area. Its elementary and middle school range from a 15-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio to a 20-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, which is much lower than the state average. So those are the stats for the South Lyon School District. Next up, here's a little more on the location, not work commute related, just the location of South Lyon itself. So South Lyon itself is small. I mean, it's like really small, coming in at only 3.75 square miles and 12,000 residents. South Lyon itself has a downtown, but it's also easy striking distance to Brighton, which has a little bigger of a downtown, Milford, which has a super cute downtown, which is located here, Northville with their downtown, which is located here, Plymouth's downtown is located here. Now, this is different than Lyon Township, and most people, when they're talking about South Lyon, actually lump both together. So Lyon Township is actually pretty huge at 32 square miles, and it's also less densely populated with 21,000 people. So combined, you've got about 33,000 residents between Lyon and South Lyon, and it's also expected that Lyon and South Lyon will top out at over 45,000 residents over the next 10 years with all of the new construction that's happening, and we're going to talk about that towards the end. Up until now, South Lyon has grown at a little bit slower than the cities that are on the north side of 96, like Brighton, Milford, and further out Howell, but that has been changing fast. Developers have definitely moved in. Okay, we've covered the commute, crime rates, schools, and a little more on the direction South Lyon and Lyon Township are going in, but what is there to do? Is it just like Hill Valley from Back to the Future, but kind of pre-Hill Valley, as Doc Brown puts it?
I remember when this was all farmland as far as the eye could see.
Or is there anything to actually do? So there's no Twin Pines Mall or Lone Pine Mall, depending on what part of the movie Back to the Future we're talking about, but there is a 12 Oaks Mall over in Novi, about 15 minutes away with over 170 stores. And it has all the basics covered like Macy's and Nordstrom's and 30 restaurants, including a Cheesecake Factory, of course, and an Apple store. But let's zoom back into South Lyon. All right, knowing there's a mall nearby is always important. That's one of the questions I get asked. And if you're a local, you know I've got to start with the most iconic landmark in South Lyon, the South Lyon Hotel. It's clearly the best known restaurant in town, and guys, it's not even a hotel. While the name might throw off some visitors, it is the place to bring them to truly experience South Lyon. So the original South Lyon Hotel was built in 1867 and was the Whipple House Hotel, which actually was a hotel. And to clear the land, they had to relocate a whole cemetery. At the time, Whipple, of the Whipple Hotel, paid $2.50 per body removal. It's thought that they might have missed a few bodies, that is, times being what they were. So the first time it burned down, as it's burned down more than once, was in 1977. Now it took into the 80s to rebuild. Then it burnt down again in 2016. Now officially it was an electrical fire, but the hotel was built on a former cemetery that was moved to make way for expanding the downtown. A lot of locals think it's haunted, and it's been reported that chairs have been moving themselves, lights have been flickering, which I guess could be the poor electrical that caused the fire in the first place. Check those permits, guys. All the way to full apparitions, including a little girl beckoning guests towards her. Now I'll say this, it doesn't stop me or pretty much anybody in town from going there, and there is probably just a little more of the story than an electrical fire. Two fires, plus there were 39 years with no issues in a second fire. All right, put in the comments below if you've been there and you felt like it was haunted, if your hair's raised on the back of your neck, if you've seen anything or felt a presence. Okay, the downtown itself has over 100 stores and restaurants spanning 12 blocks here. Some of my favorite shopping spots are the Venue, which is a rock and roll inspired clothing store with a lot of local brands like Made in Detroit, Detroit Shirt Co., and Detroit Archive Co. Then there's Grand Trunk Home, which has both local and fun clothing and home accessories. Jody Bella Home, which is a used furniture shop, which there's some pretty cool vintage pieces at. South Lyon Cycle, which is a locally owned Trek and Giant shop. So I ride Trek triathlon bikes and mountain bikes, and these guys have done a great job servicing them. Just want to put that out there. Always want to shout out local companies that do a great job. The yearly cleanup, swapping out brake sets, and everything in between. And for the crystal lovers, there's My Gaia Garden. They've got a huge selection and are super knowledgeable about types of crystals. I am not. So if I'm buying crystals as a gift for somebody, I clearly need help. All right, let's talk restaurants and bars. The Corner Social has a little bit of everything. It's a great go-to coffee shop. They also bring in ice cream from Guernsey's, which is over in Northville here, which is a cool place to stop as well, and so good. There are 8 soups on the menu and a great barbecue pulled pork sandwich. They've got a huge whiskey and bourbon list, pretty good wine list, and a pretty inspired cocktail menu. It's an all-around good go-to to keep in the back of the pocket for any time of day, really. My other coffee shop that I like to go to in South Lyon is Java House. It's a great place to pick up beans, ground and unground there. Also, they don't use blended beans like a lot of places do. So when it says says on the label what it is, it's 100% what you get. They also have a really nice breakfast sandwich. The Lake Street Tavern is located at the corner of 10 Mile and Lafayette here. If you go there, 100% for sure get the duck fries, and also their gluten-free chocolate cake is actually really good. For Mexican, Cancun Mexican Grill, scope out their tacos, but also they serve a mean enchilada and of course, exceptionally large margaritas. And I can't skip over the Witch's Brewing Hat, which is named after the Witch's Hat Museum. We're gonna talk about that as well, which has a large menu, but definitely get the burger. It's probably the best burger in town, and you can also get growlers of their beer to go. Next up, South Lyon has a great parks and rec system. They've actually got over 200 acres of parks, including Columbia Park here. McHattie Park is here right in downtown South Lyon with 15 acres. It has baseball diamonds and playground equipment and sand volleyball courts and a sledding hill. And you cannot miss the Witch's Hat Depot Museum, which is a museum about all things South Lyon history. It even has a caboose that we pulled on the tracks going through South Lyon dating all the way back to 1926. And it was kept as original as possible, honoring the history of there being 3 rail lines that went through South Lyon. And I'll link below to the South Lyon Recreation Authority. They've got day camps throughout the summer, swim lessons, both group and one-on-one, that they run at the South Lyon East High School, and they put on programming for youth baseball, basketball, soccer, and more. Now, just outside of South Lyon are 3 great parks that I still go to and I love going to. First one is Kensington Metro Park. This is a 4,500 acre park with 1,200 acre Kent Lake right there in the middle. There are 16 miles of trails, half paved, half unpaved. There's swimming and a beach and canoeing and kayaking and paddleboarding and boat rentals, and you can catch bass and pike and panfish. There's an 18 acre par 71 golf course. There's cross-country skiing and ice skating, and there are 2 disc golf courses, which are both pretty challenging. I've actually played both of them. And 4 biking and hiking trails I've ridden probably over 100 times through the years. The Kent Lake Loop is going around Kent Lake here. It's paved. The Wild Wing Trail is 1.9 miles unpaved. The Fox Trail is 4.4 miles, and then the big one, the Milford Trail, which is a 15-mile loop up into Milford and back. There are some other loops and trails in the park, but it's pretty hard to get lost. There's usually other people around. And check out this huge water slide. It's $10 for a day pass or $45 for the season. I would definitely get the season pass. Just saying, you're gonna be back. Over here in Brighton is the Island Lake Rec Area. It's the 4th largest state park in Michigan at 4,000 acres. There's 18 miles of trails with a moderately difficult mountain biking trail, which is the Yellow Loop Trail. Also, it has 200 campsites, hot air balloon launches you can actually book and ride. It's got a shooting range and a model airplane field you can fly from. Last one is Mayberry State Park, which is in Northville over here. It was originally known as Tuberculosis Town. In 1921, it was actually the Mayberry Sanatorium, which was built to ship patients out of Detroit to during the major outbreaks of tuberculosis in the 1920s. At one point, it had over 40 buildings, and then later on, it was converted into a park in 1975. You can still see some of the original buildings and the historic markers from that time on the trails themselves. There's a 5-mile mountain biking trail, there's walking and hiking and non-bike specific trails, as in you can't bring a bike on it, and the big loop is 11 miles of horseback riding trails. And yes, my friends, they have horses at the park that you can book and ride throughout the summer. Can't do a video about South Lyon, or any city video for that matter, without mentioning the golf courses. So South Lyon proper, there are 3 public golf courses, and my dad would not take it kindly if I skipped these. There's the Cattail Golf Club, which is over here, the Moose Ridge Golf Club, which is over here, and the Tanglewood Golf Club, which is here. Within striking distance, there are some of my favorite courses as well, including Northville Hills, which is over here. This is an Arnold Palmer designed course that is actually pretty unforgiving. It's really annoying actually sometimes playing that course. There's Coyote here in New Hudson, which was ranked by the Free Press as the 10th best course in Metro Detroit. There's Lion Oaks in Wixom, which the Free Press ranked as the 7th best course in Metro Detroit. And if you're up for a bit of a drive, the #1 ranked golf course, the U of M golf course over here. Now check out its proximity to the Big House. It's literally right across the street. So during football season, this also doubles as my favorite place to park if I'm going to a U of M game at the Big House. It's not cheap to park there, but totally worth it for proximity. Okay, next up, let's talk real estate, because I'm a real estate agent and I like all things houses. So first we're gonna go into pricing. So scope out this chart for a high level overview. Over the last 12 months, I've got the multiple listing service, AKA the total market here in blue, which ended the year 2024 at $262,000 as an average home sales price. And this covers all of Southeast Michigan. South Lyon, however, came in just shy of $600,000 at $590,000 for an average sales price. It's definitely not the least expensive area by a long shot in Southeast Michigan, but it's also not the most expensive. But it also beat the national average for appreciation. 2024 nationally, we saw a 4.1% price jump. But here in South Lyon and Lyon Township, we saw 7.3%. Part of that is because South Lyon, at the time of this filming, only has 64 homes and condos on the market. That's about half the number of homes for sale in cities with populations between 30 and 45,000. Only 64 homes. That's not a lot to pick from across all price ranges. All right, so let's get a little more micro. So there are 4 condos available under 100,000. That's not a lot. Even Novi and Northville have more than that. And those two cities combined are about a third of the population. So there are 7 between 120,000 and 280,000. And we don't get our first actual house, non-condo, until 294,000. The least expensive home for sale today is $42,000 more than the Michigan average. And the market is still tight with only 7 homes below 500,000. The sweet spot where most homes are available is between 600,000 and 1 million, and there are currently 7 on the market above $1 million. The number one home, the most expensive home on the market that's built, not to be built, there are a couple of builders out there that haven't built yet, is on Napier Road. And now I gotta tell you, I love the front porch, and it's on 4.5 acres and 6,200 square feet with a 3,800 square foot finished walkout basement. So all in all, it's about 10,000 living square feet. Check out the pool with the waterfall, the built-in outdoor kitchen and cabana. The 3-season room is fantastic. The basement has a gym and a hot tub, and there's definitely a range of pricing when you're buying a home in South Lyon, and no matter where you end up, you're going to be close to downtown. So that's a good thing. So I mentioned new construction, and there's a lot of it happening here. And if you're watching this video over a year later, reach out to me for the latest developments. We have partnerships with all the major and most smaller builders, and we definitely keep tabs on what's going on and what's up and coming, but it hasn't started yet. So over here is Charleston Park. This is a sing community with 27 lots left at the time of shoot. Prices are starting at $517,900. There are some lots that have premiums for walkouts and daylights, and all new construction I recommend to people tack on 20% for larger home upgrades, and of course, you still gotta do the landscaping. Now, we haven't seen any of our clients between the upgrades and landscaping get out for under $650,000. Just wanna make sure I'm preparing up front. Homes range from 2,300 to 3,300 square feet, spanning 8 floor plans, the Westford being the least expensive and the Rockport over here being the most expensive. Next, I got the Woodlands of Lyon Township by Pulte, just opened another phase of 19 lots and starting at $580K, ranging up to $623K. Homes are between 2,700 and 3,400 square feet. Pulte does do well, including a lot of base upgrades with the price in this community. However, I'd still plan on an additional $50,000 to $75,000 tacked on to the price when everything is picked out and construction starts. Next up, I've got Silver Lake Meadows, which is just starting up. There are 40 homes built on 51 acres. Now, the sales prices here are expected to be between $900,000 and $1.7 million on estate-sized lots. This builder is focusing on Frank Lloyd Wright as an inspiration for their exterior and interior designs, and homes are expected to be around 4,200 square feet on average. I've got a contact with the builder for pre-sale as well. If you're interested, call me. I can set you up with a great appointment. And there are still 11 lots left in the Lombardo sub. They're pretty close to closeout, starting at 500 and ranging up to 600, including a ranch model, which is pretty unusual for a builder to build today. These aren't all the sites and developments happening in South Lyon. There are several more that are working their way through the township for approval, but it gives a good idea of what's out there as far as new construction goes. So tell me what you guys think about South Lyon. Do you love it? Do you can't stand it here? Is it too far into the sticks? Is it too close into town? Your comments will help people that are considering South Lyon make the best decision for them or their families. My name is Mike Perna, again, local go-to real estate agent here in Metro Detroit. I'd be honored to get the call to help you find your next home or sell your current one. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you on the next video.